So this is a hydraulic siphon. So if you put this and if you initially give some excitation, and then water will be coming from here. So let's call this point is point B, and somewhere you have the reference line datum. So this is your reference. Now let us consider. So we will apply a Bernoulli's equation to find velocity at different point and to illustrate the concept of cavitation. So let us apply at point A. So this point is A, and this is located at a height of ZA from the reference line. So this is your reference line. So from this reference line, this is at a height of ZA. So we can apply Bernoulli's equation at point A and point B. So if I apply this and point B, then I can write pressure at A divided by rho Z plus half V square. Now velocity at point A will be very small, and we can consider this is a zero velocity. So we can write velocity at A is approximately zero, and this is because this is a large surface. So surface area is large. So water approximately remains stationary. So you can say this is because large surface area. Large surface area. Basically, you can consider this velocity also, and then you can find this point and this point area, then you can also do an exact calculation. But for the time being, this velocity is zero, and ZA is the height from the reference line. And this will be PB divided by rho Z plus VB square, that is the velocity at point B, divided by rho Z plus ZB. So ZB is the height of point B from the reference line. So this is ZB. Now pressure at A is atmospheric pressure because this is open point and this is also a open point to the atmosphere. So we can write PA is equals to PB is equals to P atmospheric pressure. So we can write something like this. So this means this term and this term cancels out. P and PB are same. So this cancels out. So we can write ZA is equals to BB square divided by 2Z plus ZB. Now here I can write from here VB is equals to under root 2Z ZA minus ZB. That is the difference in the Z coordinate. Let's call this Z delta Z. So this is the velocity at point B. So you see, the velocity at point B is created on the expense of head loss. So whatever be the head loss between A and B, that results in velocity. So we can say velocity at B is created at the expense of head difference between A and B. So whatever the head difference you have, head loss you have, that will create velocity at B. Now in some cases, in this case we have assumed the pipe has no friction, but pipe can also have a friction. In that case, there will be some head loss due to the friction also. So you have to account for that. For example, if HL denotes head loss due to friction, then you have to account for this. This means whenever you are writing Bernoulli's equation, then you have to add this term. ZA is equals to, so I'm applying Bernoulli's equation at point 1 and point A and point B. And since there is a head loss, so I have to add this HL on the right side. So if you assume that PA is equals to PB, basically that is practically true. So we can write this expression something like this. And ZA minus ZB is nothing but delta Z and this minus HL. So VB is equals to under root 2Z delta Z minus HL. So when you are considering friction, your velocity will decrease. That makes sense because this is the head loss, actual head loss. So there is a reduction in actual head loss because of the friction, and that's why VV is less, that is expected. So we can say VV is less if friction is considered. Friction is considered. So if you consider friction, you will have a smaller velocity. Now let us consider one more point, point C. So I can go in the same diagram, or I can, let me see, I can go to the same diagram and copy it possible. No, it's not possible to copy. Okay. Anyway, so let us consider a point C here. So this point is C. And the reference height from the reference line is ZC. So this is the height from the reference line. ZC is the height. So we are considering a new point. And this is your free water surface. From free water surface, this is at a height of H. This means there is a difference between point C and free water surface is a small h. And this height, you can say, there is a free water surface to the top horizontal portion of the pipe is h. So we have introduced different variables. Let's call this point is a D and this point is S. So this means from free surface to the D point, the distance is capital H, or point S, this distance is capital H. So now let us consider point C and we will consider point A. So this point. If we apply Bernoulli's equation, then we can write, so Bernoulli's equation at point A and C. So if we apply these two equations, this equation at point A and C, you can write PA by rho Z plus 0 plus ZA is equals to PC by rho Z plus VC square by 2Z plus ZC. And VB is equals to VC. We earlier calculated velocity at B. So whatever the velocity we have at B will be same as velocity at C. Why this is so? So I am saying BB is equals to VC is equals to VD is equals to VS. The reason is cross section is constant. So continuity equation, you can say A1 B1 is equals to A2 V2. Since area is constant, the velocity is also constant, and PA is equals to P atmospheric pressure. So if you plug this, you will have P atmospheric pressure divided by rho Z is equals to, we will put ZA that side, PC by rho Z plus BB is nothing but, BC is nothing but BB divided by ZC minus ZA. And ZC minus ZA, the difference between point A and point C, as I showed you in the figure, this distance is how much? Anyone? This distance is equal to?
Small h.
A small h, good. So this distance is equals to a small h. So this is ZA minus ZC is equals to a small h. So I can write this as negative h. If you consider friction, then you have to also subtract corresponding friction loss. So for example, if you consider friction, so friction, if you consider also friction, then in that case this equation will be P atmospheric pressure divided by rho Z is equals to PC by rho Z plus VB square by 2Z minus H minus HL dash. So HL dash is the effect due to the friction. You see HL dash, I am writing HL dash because in the previous case pipe length was different, and in this case pipe length is different. You are applying at between point A and C. So friction will be less, and that's why we wrote HL dash. So this is a different friction loss. This is not same as the previous case. So once again, you can see if you have a friction, then you can write this. How much? So pressure at C, I can write this equation. This is, I think this expression was PC by rho Z, and this is P atmospheric. You have to correct me if I am writing something wrong. Like this will be the expression. Yeah. So just to write PC is equals to, put this side, so you will have this expression. So this is PC by rho Z is equals to P atmospheric pressure divided by rho Z minus BBS square minus H minus HL dash. So I can say PC by rho Z is equals to P atmospheric pressure by rho Z minus BBS square by 2Z plus H plus HL dash. So pressure at C is less than the atmospheric pressure. This means there is a suction kind of thing. And that's why liquid is flowing up, because there is a suction. So pressure at C is less than the atmospheric pressure. How much less? This is the quantity. So pressure is decreasing inside this pipe as you go up. Pressure is decreasing. So I can say pressure at C is below atmospheric pressure, by how much? By this amount, maybe a square by 2Z plus H plus HL dash. So by this amount the pressure is less. So where do you think in the pipe you will have the minimum pressure? So we basically calculated at point C. You have other points also inside the pipe. At which point you think you will have minimum pressure? So at which point you will have minimum pressure? Anyone?
So can you move back to the diagram?
Sorry?
So can you please scroll up to the diagram?
Oh, in the first class I said you have to write down.
Yes, I have marked that point there.
No, then you have to note down. If you are in the class in the blackboard, then you have to write down, and then you have to tell me what was the point.
I can describe it. along that vertical pipe with B, the topmost point.
Yeah, that is the horizontal portion of the pipe. But I
Yes.
say you please write. Otherwise, it's a good idea to keep writing. Otherwise, it will be difficult to follow up the lecture. I understand you can understand everything if I'm writing, but it's a good idea to write. Okay, so at the top portion you will have minimum pressure. So we can say minimum pressure will occur at horizontal or in the horizontal portion of the tube, in the horizontal portion. So that is point D. If you remember, this point is either you can call this as a D or you can call S, and this distance is H. So now I can write for the minimum pressure PD by rho Z. So the C point becomes D. P atmospheric pressure divided by rho Z minus BB square by 2Z minus H. This becomes capital H, and I'm neglecting the friction losses. Generally, friction losses you can neglect in these cases because if your tube and everything is smooth and head due to the other effects are large, in those cases you can neglect the friction loss with respect to bigger heads. But if your head friction loss is not a small comparison to the total head, then you have to include that. So from here you can write, since you know VB, so VB is equals to what? VB is equals to under root 2G delta Z. We earlier derived this result, so we can write PD by rho Z is equals to P atmospheric rho Z minus, this becomes VB square is 2G delta Z, and divide by delta 2Z, then simply becomes delta Z, and this is minus H. So PD by rho Z is equals to P atmospheric pressure by rho Z minus delta Z plus H. So there is a loss, or you can say there is a the pressure at point D is lesser than the atmospheric pressure by this amount, that is delta Z plus H. Now it is possible that this pressure is very small. PD is very small, and it may be as small as the vapor pressure of the liquid. In that situation, what will happen? The water is flowing through this tube, and at certain position, point D, if that pipe length, so this portion, if this portion is long, so this height, basically you can change this height. If you keep increasing this height, a point will come, this pressure is so small that this is equals to the vapor pressure of the liquid.
There will be cavitation then.
What do you mean by cavitation?
The forming of those air bubbles in the flow.
Air bubbles or what kind of bubble? It's not air bubble. What phenomena will start? You have a liquid, and the pressure of the liquid is equal to the vapor pressure of the liquid. So what I'm saying, pressure at D, so pressure at D is equals to vapor pressure of liquid. Remember your 10+2 chemistry. What happens when this kind of phenomena, pressure at certain point is equals to the vapor pressure of liquid, what happens?
Boiling.
Boiling. Good. So whenever your vapor pressure is equals to atmospheric pressure, in that case this is atmospheric pressure, but now this is not atmospheric pressure, this is pressure at D. because this is not open, this is closed. So your pressure is equals to vapor pressure, then you will have boiling. So what will happen? Liquid will start forming vapor. So in this case, I can say vapor will form. Vapor will form. So once this vapor forms, this means flow stops. So your flow stops. But now more vapor will form, and suddenly what will happen? All this vapor will condense, forms liquid, and again the liquid in the pipe will rush towards this area. So this phenomena, forming a bubble of vapor, is called cavitation, because you are forming a cavity inside this tube. So this is called cavitation. So if you want to avoid cavitation, so flow stops, and this is called cavitation. So if you want to avoid cavitation, what should be the condition? Condition should be pressure at D should be greater than minimum vapor pressure or vapor pressure, some kind of minimum pressure, and in this case minimum will be vapor pressure of liquid. So vapor pressure of liquid. Then only the vapor will not lock. Otherwise, vapor will start locking inside the pipe and your flow will stop. Sometime in the liquid you also have air bubbles, airs. So that air can also close the flow, but in this case, this stops of flow is due to the formation of bubble due to the vapor. So this is about the cavitation. Next thing we will start some more about this application. We will discuss later when we are discussing different kind of losses in the pipe, minor losses. Right now we will discuss dimensional. So this chapter we will discuss dimensional analysis, similitude, and modeling. So now if we have any problem in fluid mechanics, so it's not like a numerical problems. I am saying solving a fluid problem. This means actual real life problem. So if you want to solve any problem or any project or any task related to fluid mechanics, like if you have a flow in closed pipe, what will be the head loss for a given length? Or if you have a flow in a river or in an open channel, related to that, if you have a problem, there are two ways to solve the problem. One approach is analytical. When we say analytical, this means whatever we learned up to this point of time, abstract 10+2 physics, that you have to write equations, solve this equation, write equilibrium equation, motion equation, other equations. So this is analytical approach in which you write equations for the system using the compatibility condition and all this. Another approach to solve the problem is by experiment. So what you do is, you do experiment. In those cases, you can find what is the output from the experiment. Based upon that, you can solve the problem. Another approach, you also have one more approach, something called numerical modeling. So numerical modeling. You might have heard something called finite element method, or I don't know whether, I think you don't have taken this numerical analysis course. So something called numerical model. So what you do is you have some dam, then you build a model of this dam in the computer using some mathematical technique, and then you predict the response of the dam. So that is another approach. That is numerical approach. So we can solve a problem analytically, that is basically theoretically, or experimentally, or numerically, or a combination of these two. So generally, we can use a combination of theoretical, numerical, and experimental approach. So a combination of theoretical, numerical, and experimental mental approach. So you can use. Now this similitude or dimensional analysis is more related to solve a problem using experiment. So what is the objective in this case? Objective is to plan an experiment and solve the problem. So using similitude, what we do is plan an experiment and execute for solution, and then you solve the problem. Solve the problem. So this is the objective of this chapter. So how do you plan the experiment? So only thing is we will learn how do you plan. So if you have a river, how do you, or you have a flow inside the pipe, how you plan the experiment? What is the meaning of similitude? Any guess? This word is coming from some common word, some common known to you. So what do you understand by similitude? Anyone just guess?
A kind of imitation of the real world objects.
Good. Anyone else want to say something? Because generally we try to interact in the class, and that's why I keep asking the question. You can answer anything, it doesn't matter. You can, whatever you feel, you can answer. Anyone? Okay, so you're right, this word is related to similar. This means you want to make a model. So you have an actual scenario, and then you put a model in the lab, and then try to infer. So when we say similitude, this means measurement made from one system can be applied to the similar system. Applied to the similar system. So this is the idea. You are making measurement to one system, and then you are applying the same result or same equation that you have derived from the one system to the other system. One system can be model, another system can be actual system in the field. So one system you can have a model in the lab, for example. Other system you can have a prototype. So system, actual system in the field. Actual system in field. So you have two systems. One system is your model that is in the lab, and another is actual system that is in the field. Now these two can be related using similitude. The theory or the philosophy or the mathematics developed using the similitude. So what you do, you have a model in the lab, you make measurement, and then once you have measurement, you can derive some empirical equations. There are two kinds of equation. One that follows the physics or equilibrium, motion. Those analytical equations have some background. This means you can derive those. Abstract kind of equation, analytical equations. Another equation that can be derived using the data, that is called empirical equations. So this is, you have the measurements, and using these measurements you can derive some empirical equations. In engineering, most of the equations are empirical equations because actual system does not fit, most of the actual system does not fit into the abstract process, abstract modeling. And once you have empirical equations, you can apply to the field. So this is the idea of this chapter. Now this is done. So this is the idea of similitude, and how this idea is done. This is done through dimensional analysis. Dimensional analysis. And this is very similar to whatever you have learned in your physics course. Dimensional analysis, very simple idea. So to illustrate this, let us consider a flow in a pipe. So let us consider flow of an incompressible Newtonian liquid that follows Newton's law through a long, a smooth-walled horizontal circular pipe. Horizontal circular pipe. So this is a pipe that you see in your houses or everywhere. You see this pipe, long pipe, let's say horizontal pipe, and water is flowing through this pipe. And we want to find one thing. What is pressure drop per unit length? So we are interested in, in this length, how much there is a pressure drop. So pressure drop per unit length. So we are writing this is a delta P. So what is the variable of interest? So we are interested in variable of interest. So we are interested in pressure drop per unit length. So pressure drop per unit length. Now this problem looks very simple. That is, what is the pressure drop between a given length L? But this problem cannot be solved analytically. This means if you write equation of motion, Bernoulli's equation and all this, you consider the friction and all this also, viscosity and everything. This problem cannot be solved if you consider all this practical situation. So this cannot be solved analytically without using any experimental data. So this problem looks very simple, but this problem cannot be solved analytically without the use of experimental data. Without the use of experimental data. So how we solve this? So we try to first figure out what are the variables on which this pressure will depend. So this pressure loss delta PL, and the unit for this will be Newton per meter cube. What are the what variable this will depend? It will depend upon diameter of pipe, D. It will depend upon what is the density of the liquid. It will also depend, so this is diameter, this is density, and this is fluid viscosity. It will also depend what is the mean velocity of the fluid. So I can say this delta PL is a function of different variable. What are the variable? Diameter, density, viscosity, and the mean velocity in the pipe. And moreover, the nature of this function is unknown. So I don't know what kind of the function is. So nature of function is unknown. So I don't know the nature of this function. Now, I only guessed using some idea that this will depend upon these variables and there will be a function, but I don't know. How do I find this function? This can be found using experiment. Now, how will you do this experiment? So you know there is some variable by that is a function of 4 different variables, and I don't know what is the function. I'm interested to find this function using some experiment. One idea will be keep 3 variable fixed, constant, and change one of the variable. So what will be the idea? One simple idea can be change one variable, keeping others constant. Keeping others constant. If you keep other variable constant, then what you will do? You will measure pressure loss. So you have a pipe, you fix 3 variable. For example, you can fix d, rho, mu, and change the velocity and measure what is delta PL. Then you can make a plot. So what kind of plot you will have? You can make something like this. You are doing some experiment, and in this experiment, diameter, density, and viscosity is constant. And then you are measuring what is the pressure drop per unit length, and you are changing the velocity. If you will do this experiment, you will find something of this kind of graph. So roughly you know what is the function, increasing function, some curve function. If you keep these 3, you have some idea of this function. This is one way. There are more possibility also. What you can do is you can fix V, rho, and mu. In this case, this is constant. Then again you can measure delta PL, and you can change the diameter because this time diameter is not fixed. You can again find some kind of function. You do some experiment, you can find this function. Other possibilities also there. You can fix dV mu. So you can fix density, velocity, and mu. Not density, this is diameter. And then you measure delta PL, and here you keep changing the rho. You will have something of this kind of curve. Similarly, if you d, rho, v, these things are constant, and delta PL, and you are changing the viscosity, then you will have something like this. Now see, so I still don't know the exact function. I am trying to do some experiment. I am trying to keeping some function, some variable fixed. I am trying to get some idea of this function. But now these experiments, there are so many experiments. If you have a 4 variable, you have to do so many experiments. For each graph, you have to run the test multiple times and then you will get different point. So you see there are multiple experiments you have to perform. And some of them is very difficult to perform. For example, you have to vary rho. This is very difficult. You have to every time you have to change the density of liquid. One time same pipe you are flowing water, another time flowing oil, third time some other chemical. So you are changing the rho. This part, changing the viscosity, same liquid or other liquid. By changing the temperature, you can change the viscosity. So you have to change the viscosity. So these experiments, the first thing is there are a large number of experiments, and second thing is some of them are not easy to perform. So I can say first demerit is large in numbers. A large number of experiments. Another is some of them is difficult to perform. Some of them is difficult to perform. So now the question is, and also how we combine. So we have performed different experiments, but I don't know the exact function. In this case, function is f1, function is f2, f3, f4, different function. Now how do we combine all these functions to get f? I have to find f, and I have got f1, f2, f3, 4. So another demerit is from f1, f2, f3, f4, how we find f? The actual functional form. This means how we combine these functions to get the exact function. Now, so how do we solve this problem? And this problem can be solved. One way is we have large number of variables. We have how many variables? 4 variables. D. So what are the things? So what will we? So we are discussing another approach. So we have seen this way we are not going to solve this problem. So what we can do is, so we have these are the variable, and there is a function, and using this function we can predict delta PL. So what we can do is we can reduce the number of variables. So I have 5 variables. If you consider the output is also a variable. By plus by is 1 variable and 4x. So let's consider 5 variables. So what we can do is we can combine these variables and we can produce only 2 variables, let's say. And then it's easy because if I have a 2 variable, I need only one set of graph. So this is called non-dimensional combination of variables. Non-dimensional combination of variables. So let us say from these 5 variables, I introduced a new variable d delta PL divided by rho V square. So this is a new variable. From where I got, don't worry about that. Let's say I have a new variable and this is made from the combination of the 5 variables. And I have another variable rho V d by mu and function phi. So what we have done, we have a 5 variable, we reduced our problem using dimensional analysis to 2 variables, and this is first variable, this is the second variable. These 2 variables are also called dimensional group. So these 2 variables, I will call this as a dimensional group. So now I have to form dimensional group. So what was that? Initially you have 5 variables. From these 5 variables you have to create dimensional group. In this case I have created 2 dimensional groups. So 2 variables. Now once I know this tool, there are only 2 variables, I can do experiments. So what we will do is, on the y-axis, y have 1 variable. So this is on the response This is a dimensionless, we will see this, rho vs square, and this is rho vd by mu. So we have reduced our problem, and in this case now I can perform the experiment and I can get this graph. So my problem has been reduced, and what I need only one plot. Only one plot is needed in this case. So now I can perform the experiment. The advantage is you don't have to look each variable. You don't have to change the pipe diameter. You don't have to change the fluid, because now you are working with this variable. So you can keep these same. You can keep fluid viscosity same. You can change other variables. So the advantage is no need to change pipe diameter. So only one experimental setup. You don't have to change the pipe diameter D and different fluids. So this is the advantage, different fluids. So this means, what is the idea? You have a dimensional, you have some variables. From those variables, you have created some dimensional group. Now, how we create this dimensional group? So will we keep looking on this? So if you remember, we use three different basic dimensions that you have learned in class 10 or class 12. Basic dimension, you can use MLT, or you can also use force, length and time. You can use these two basic dimensions. Either you can work with MLT or FLT, wherever you will see, wherever easier things you can use easier one. F is nothing but MLT minus 2. This is L, this is T. So force is also a different dimension. So force has a difference. So force is basically not depending upon L and T. This is independent. So these three are independent. Similarly, these three are independent. Now let us see this problem, that is the problem in a pipe, that is the pressure loss across along a unit length. Now we will use this symbol, and this symbol is for dimensional equality. So this symbol is often used for dimensional equality. So let us try to see what is the different dimension. So what will be the dimension of delta PL in terms of FLT? Can you give me? Okay, since there is very small amount of time, I am writing here. And then diameter is length, and so this is dimensional equality, FL minus 4T square. You have mu, you can verify yourself. So this is the dimension. If there is any mistake, please let me know. LT minus 1. So this is the dimension of 5 variables that we introduced in this problem, and then we reduced into 2 variables. So just to verify that the one dimensional group was this, delta PL divided by rho V square. If you plug all this dimension, L, and this is F by LQ, and this has rho FL minus 4T square, and this has a dimension of LT minus 1 whole square. You will find FLT each raised to the power 0. Similarly, another dimension number or other dimensional group that we used is this, rho Vd by mu, Fl minus 4 T square, and velocity is Lt minus 1, d is length, and Fl minus 2t. If you plug all this, please verify yourself. You will find these two has no dimension. So this one dimensional group, another dimensional group are dimensional dimensionless. So this means any result that you will have, it will be independent from system of unit we use. So either you perform in one system or in another system, they will be, so there are different systems, different units. In any system, you will have same results. So you can say result will be independent from the system of unit we choose to use. And this is called dimensional analysis. So if you have a or more variables, how do you reduce? All this is called dimensional analysis. So in the next class, we will discuss more how do we perform. So the dimensional analysis, there is a systematic procedure by which you can perform this dimensional analysis using a theorem. So in that case, you have to find how to create the dimensional group. That we will discuss in the next class.
Okay, sir.
Tomorrow we will have a tutorial, and here the TA will be doing some problems. I will also put some practice problems in the same folder that we use for video lectures. If you have anything or any doubt, then you can discuss here. Otherwise, you can log out.
So no doubt, sir. But what will be the timing for tomorrow's tutorial class?
Same timing that we have. I think it's 10 to 11. No?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Bye. Bye. Welcome. Welcome.